another trial in your life. Welcome in this evening. We're so glad to see each and every one of you back in God's house this evening. Hope and pray that you had a wonderful day. I know some of them have been on the road the biggest part of the day, traveling back and forth, but we know that God has been with them, and we hope and pray that Brother George will have traveling grace all week back and forth to that chapel. I can't remember. Rice Chapel. I know where it's at, just couldn't think of what it is, but we hope and pray that you have souls on the altar, but most of all, you have souls saved for your effort this week. But this is another service. We're going to open it up this evening with prayer. I'm going to ask Brother Tim Large to ask God's blessing on this service this evening. Brother Tim.
Bless our Father for this day, for the time that you've given us, the service this morning, each and every soul that we have Father touch your heart as we do this service. George, to give us a message.
Amen. Sister Connie has chosen page 359 for the first selection this evening, Leaning on the Everlasting Arms. Says both arms, and God's got them wrapped around you, helping you through this wearisome world that we live in this evening. Page 306 for the next selection this evening. The old gospel ship.
Oh,
That song goes along with this next one she has chosen, page 235. He set me free. You have to be free to sail away from this old world. So page 235. 235. He set me free. Says he that sets free is free indeed, and we're thankful for that this evening. You might have a selection you want the congregation to sing this evening. Like I say, I know I've said it so many times, I don't have a schedule to go by, a printed program. I guess maybe we should have sometime, but
Just a little talk with Jesus. What is that? What page is that?
92, 9-2. Just a little talk with Jesus makes it right.
Was lost in sin, but Jesus took me in, and lived a life forever through my soul. He made my heart in love and broke my inner heart, and just a little talk with Jesus made me whole. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus, let us tell him on our trouble. He will hear our faintest cry, and he will answer our cry. Fill the prayer with burning, make it know the fire is burning.
Anyone else? Anyone else? Heaven's Jubilee. I don't know what page it is, but 110. 110. Heaven's Jubilee. Some glad morning we shall see Jesus in the air, coming after you and me, joy is ours to share. What rejoicing there will be when the saints shall rise, headed for that Jubilee yonder in the sky. Oh, what singing, oh, what shouting, on that happy morning when we all shall rise. Oh, what glory, hallelujah, when we meet our blessed Savior in the skies. Sing that now, I almost see. Brother Roy. Let's all stand across the congregation in fellowship, and we'll have our choir come and sing for us this evening.
page 27. With its earthly treasure, I've journeyed to a place where there is love on every hand. I've exchanged a land of heartache for a land of pleasure. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Every day I'm camping in the land of Canaan, and the rapture I survey its wonders really grand. Glory, hallelujah, I found the land of promise. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Out of Egypt I have traveled through the darkness dreary, over the hills and valleys and across the desert sands. But I've landed safe at home where I should not grow weary. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Every day I'm camping in the land of Canaan, and the rapture I survey its wondrous beauty grand. Glory, hallelujah, I found the land of promise. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Yes, I've reached the land of promise with scenes of glory. My journey ended in a place so lovely and so grand. I've been led by Jesus to this blessed land of story. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Every day I'm camping in the land of Canaan, and the rapture I survey its wondrous beauty grand. Glory, hallelujah, I found the land of promise. I'm camping in Canaan's happy land. Turn back to page 19 in your blue book. I've been traveling here in this life with its heartache, trouble, and strife. Sometimes Satan tries to tell me to turn aside, way. It gets sweeter every day. My dear Lord is leading the way to realms above. You'll be with me unto the end. Be my Savior, guide my friend. I'll arrive in heaven, the home of perfect love. I'm too near, on my Lord to be seen. Every word I'm not returning to sin. I make my vow. There's nothing too hard to oh, praise God. And to you I'm too near. And my home is I'll not turn back now. Just one glimpse inside the home gate. See the friends and loved ones who wait. Will be worth whatever the cost to make it through and through. I would not give up in the race. I'll continue by the Lord's grace. I'm too near that wonderful home beyond the blue. I'm too near on my Lord to be seen. Heaven's reward I'm not returning to sin. I made my vow. There's nothing too back to oh, praise God. And in you I'm too near. And my home is I'll not turn back now.
Yes, we haven't seen you. Too near home to turn back now, aren't we, Brother Roy? How about standing and testifying, Brother Roy? I know I asked you this morning, I'll ask you again.
I just think a while ago, 60-some years been on this journey.
60.
It gets sweeter every day.
Amen. Amen.
Sometimes I get so blessed, I just can't take it.
Amen.
Tears are rolling down, snot rolling its way that way. And I praise of God going up. So it's wonderful just to be a child of God. And I'm glad, Brother George, we give him a high and hallelujah the next morning. We can still kick our heels up and shout the glory of God.
Amen. Amen. Praise the Lord. Amen. Someone else with a good testimony. Someone else. If not, I'll ask our ushers to come this evening to lift our evening offering for us. I'm going to ask Brother J.D. to ask the blessing this evening on this offering.
Lord and blessed and Heavenly Father, we come to you this evening just to ask you to come down amongst us and be with Brother George as he brings your message. And Lord, just be with those who have and those who have not to give just the same. In your name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, brother. Amen. Did you all enjoy the songs this morning that was sung by everybody? I certainly did, and I appreciate it when someone gets up and comes up here and sings. You don't have to pry them out of their seat, so to speak. So if you've got a song, there's something to offer to the service this evening, we certainly want you to do that. Brother Mike stood the other evening and read some scripture, read a little poem or something he had about footprints. And boy, that blessed my heart, Brother Mike. It really did. And that's what I appreciate, folks minding the Lord this evening. And that's what I want you to do here in God's service, is to mind the Lord. So who's going to be first this evening? Well, that speech didn't do anything. Are you out there? Can you hear me now?
I truly did enjoy the service this morning.
Yes, amen.
The message was right along with our Sunday school class. And we had a good Sunday school class and followed right up on that message. I just taped George's message and played it over to the Sunday school class. What we did. But we had a good Sunday school class. God bless. And I tell you what, I love the Lord.
Bless you, Jim.
There's nothing like serving Jesus.
Amen.
When you're walking in the Spirit with the Lord, everything's different.
Yes.
I mean, I've not felt this good in a long time, simply because of my health condition. But God has blessed me, and even though I don't feel good sometimes, I know He's there with me, and I just want to praise Him today.
Amen.
I love the Lord.
Bless you, Jim. Amen. Someone else this evening. Someone else with a song or testimony.
Charlie, I want to say I love the Lord. Thank you for another beautiful day you've given us. Thank you for letting me back in this house again one more time. Amen.
Bless you, brother.
Amen.
Bless you, brother. We certainly want to remember those that wasn't able to be with us today for one reason or other. A lot of physical ailments around. But like someone's always said, God's with them no matter where they're at, whether on their bed of affliction or sitting home in a reclining chair or here in God's house. God is with us this evening. Brother George, how about singing one voice? Or somebody else will make it up in mind.
Well, now. Let me use your strap here.
Use this one here if it's longer.
Oh,
Here,
this should be good.
you can lengthen that.
Ah.
Oh, what did you try to say?
It wouldn't hurt my feelings if that's what he was trying to say. I live in this body, I know. Amen. That's right. All right, shoot me a request, someone. I don't have a clue. I just came tonight to be with you. What? The lighthouse. There's a lighthouse on a hillside that overlooks life's sea. When I'm tossed, it sends out a light, the light that I might see. For the light that shines in darkness now will safely lead me home. If it wasn't for the lighthouse, my ship would sail no more. Everybody that lives around us says, why don't you just tear that old lighthouse down? For the big ships, they don't sail this way anymore. There ain't no need in it standing round. Then my mind goes back to that old stormy night when just in time I saw the light from that old lighthouse that stands up there on the hill. And I thank God for the lighthouse. I owe my from the rocks of sin, He has shown a light around me that I might clearly see. If it wasn't for the lighthouse, tell me where would this ship be? And I thank God for the lighthouse. I owe my life to Him, for Jesus is the lighthouse, and from the rocks of sin He has shown a light around me that I might clearly see. If it wasn't for the lighthouse, tell me where would this ship be? Everybody that lives around us says, why don't you just tear that old lighthouse down? For the big ships, they don't sail this way anymore. There ain't no need it standing around. Then my mind goes back to that old stormy night when just in time I saw the light from that old lighthouse that stands up there on the hill. And I thank God for the lighthouse. I owe my life to Him, for Jesus is the lighthouse, and from the rocks of sin He has shown a light around me that I might clearly see. If it wasn't for the lighthouse, tell me where would this ship be? And I thank God for the lighthouse. I owe my life to Him, for Jesus is the lighthouse, and from the rocks of sin He has shown His light around me that I might clearly see. If it wasn't for the lighthouse, tell me where would this ship be?
Good job.
Anyone else this evening wants to use the altar to bring your burdens? That's what they're here for. Yes, you don't have to come up to the altar to do it, but you know you've got sisters and brothers that will pray with you if you bring them to the Lord this evening.
You know, I've heard it say before, sometimes a person in the service might hold the key to that service.
Amen.
And if they just sit there and hold the key, someone else might not get the blessing that's needed, or it might not, you might not feel the Spirit like it could have been.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I don't know why, sometimes you have a testimony on your heart and you think, oh, I don't even know what to say or anything, so you just sit there. But for some reason I was thinking about the season changing, and oh, I just dread the winter coming. And I'm stressing about it already, and I don't want it to come. But then, like George said, you know, live in the moment. Yep. But I was thinking about the house where we live. We have little closets, and I don't have enough room in my So right now I have my spring and summer downstairs, and then my fall and winter is upstairs. But when the season starts changing, you know what I have to do. I have to run upstairs, grab something, bring it back down. So then I don't have space when I go to wash it and hang it up. But I thought, I've heard it say before, the Bible says there's pleasure in sin for a season, but I'm glad that season don't last forever. I'm glad it's over and you get sick of sin. But I was thinking, different seasons that you go through in your life, happy seasons, sad seasons, different things that you face. But just as the scripture says, this too shall pass.
Amen.
And I was thinking about that, but I thought, a lot of times I think about physical things and I can apply it to my spiritual life, or spiritual and I think about physical or whatever. To lose weight, you have to not eat as many calories or whatever. But to grow stronger, you have to read the Word of God and different things. But I thought, with the seasons changes, I thought, I'm so glad that God knows what season I'm in, when I'm in it, and He doesn't have to be thinking, oh my gosh, well, what's she gonna wear today? She have to run upstairs or whatever. He knows. He knows what I need each and every day, and He has it under control. If I just learn to trust Him more and just leave it with Him,
Amen.
and not worry about it, and just remember that this too shall pass. The season that you're in, it's not going to last forever. And just think about what just keep our eyes focused and on that prize that we're, trying to win. And I just thank Him for loving me, thankful that He takes care of me through all the seasons.
Amen. 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 Anyone else? Anyone else this evening? You guys got a song? While they're coming this evening to sing for us, maybe someone else wants to praise God this evening. Maybe you haven't done it for a day or two. Be with them as they sing this evening.
I was kind of tossing around between this song and another song, and after Roy's testimony, I went back to this page. I thought, well, this is the one we do tonight. So. Are you sure? I'm positive.
We had a good day today. Helen and Edna and Marilyn and I, and then two of the other ladies that sing with us. But the rest home, we went to a place I've never been, Eifert, and it was a good service. It was a good service.
Don't see that.
Not really. Finally saw the chord though. Got a little closer. Amen. Truly, I love the Lord, and I thank everybody that tries to do their part when they come into worship God. We was talking this morning in Sunday school class about people giving testimonies, and a testimony of a person that's changed from the inside and from the out. That's what's important. They can see the evidence of what God has done. That makes a good testimony, and I love the Lord. The more I trust Him,
The more I love Him, nothing good for me is denied. The longer I know Him, the better I can show Him. I couldn't stop now if I tried. Oh, it gets sweeter as the days go by. It gets sweeter as the moments fly.
His love is richer,
Richer,
deeper,
deeper,
fuller,
fuller,
sweeter,
sweeter, sweeter, sweeter, sweeter He placed his love down deep in my heart. There's great joy in knowing with him I am going, and never more from him to depart. Oh, it gets sweeter as the days go by. It gets sweeter as the moments fly.
His love is
Richer, deeper, fuller, sweeter, 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 sweeter as the days, sweeter.
His love is
Richer,
deeper,
deeper, fuller, sweeter, 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 sweeter as the days, sweeter, sweeter, sweeter as the days, sweeter, sweeter, sweeter as the days go by.
Thank you, Jan.
You're welcome.
Do this in C. You gonna do the piano? No?
She hasn't been now.
Okay, no, let me see where we're at here. Okay. It's been a long, no, that's not right, is it? Yeah, that's right then. Wait a minute, I'm in, geez. I'm sorry, guys. That's why I do this all the time. See, and I play it in the wrong chord every time. It's, count me out, come on. It's been a good day too so far.
It's been a long journey, but I have been blessed. Walking with Jesus, I have no regrets. He is so good to me, I must confess. The way has been long, but I'm blessed. Each day that I live, He's more than I need. I can never describe God's goodness to me. If you ask how I make it day after day, there's only one thing I can say. It's been a long journey, but I have been blessed. Walking with Jesus, I have no regrets. He is so good to me, I must confess. The way has been long, but I'm blessed. All that I need, I find at His feet. When I'm hungry, He feeds me with manna so sweet. When my soul is weary, He sends peace and rest. And all I can say is I'm blessed. Now I've had my share of sunshine and rain, days filled with laughter, nights filled with pain. But with every mile as I travel this way, the journey gets sweeter each day. It's been a long journey, but I have been blessed. Walking with Jesus, I have no regrets. He is so
thought one about this for dinner and so forth like that. Walked in the house, the telephone scene was flashing and answered, and then I'll be out to see him yesterday because he'd been in pretty bad shape, and she left a message about 9 o'clock. Of course, we had breakfast this morning, so already gone. And she said that they had rushed him to the hospital this morning around about 3 o'clock, and under the vent, so forth like that. And I thought, here's a man that for roughly about 17 years or more that's underneath my preaching, a great asset to me within the church, but yet he's so close to death. And yesterday, he's kind of just whispering, couldn't hardly hear him at all. He told his wife, said, "Honey, I want to go home." She said, "You are home." He said, "No, I want to go home."
That's right.
And that's a journey we'll all have to make one of these days. And more than anything in this life, I want to be ready for that call.
Amen. Amen.
Charlie, I want to thank God for the safe trip he gave us. You know, it was wonderful seeing the grandkids, but it's great being back in church too. And like Teresa said, he's with us through everything in our lives.
Amen.
And I just realized it's been 47 years, and it's like yesterday. I can remember it. And I'm so glad that he came into my life.
Amen.
Bless
You know, I never felt peer pressure. I never felt any of that all through school. He kept all the bullying from me. He kept it all from me.
Amen.
And you know, he blessed me so much. And even though I have went through cancer and other things in my life to where they thought for sure it was going to take me. He's kept me here for some reason.
Yes,
and I
amen.
vow to him that I will do whatever he tells me to do when I pray to him and whatever he wants me to do.
Amen.
He died for me and gave me life.
Yeah.
And you know, we're not always so lucky. My son just had a guy he worked with. The guy worked the other morning, got off in the afternoon, went to bed that night, and passed away in his sleep. So he's 44 years old and he's got kids. And my son, I think it's really bared on him here lately, but you know, we've got to be prepared for
That's right.
Right.
Sure.
because
Amen.
he promised us that we would have the opportunity in our lives to get to know him. But we have to make that choice. And so many people, they just let it go and let it go and let it go until it's too late. But I want to do for God what God wants me to do.
Amen.
So please remember me in prayer that maybe something I say or something I do when I'm out in public, that someone will realize that they need God.
Yes. Amen. Thank you, sis.
Amen.
Someone else this evening.
Brother Charlie, I want to thank
Bless
the
you,
Lord for
Shirley.
what he means to me. You know, like I said Friday, I didn't know if I was going to have a stroke or what. But you know, God took care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
And he always does. And you know, I prayed that God would help me on, I was, like I said this morning, I have COPD, never smoked, but you know, God takes care of that too.
Sure.
I have flare-ups sometimes and I love to sing and I just can't sing. But you know, God can take care of that too.
Mm-hmm.
Amen.
But you know, my son, like Teresa was saying, he's all the time telling me, "Mom, you worry too much." And I do. But you know, he said, you always say God will take care of it, but still you think, when you don't feel good, you'll sit and think, well, I'll just worry about this. You know, and he gets on to me all the time. But I know, whether I worry about it or not, God is in control.
Amen.
And I put my trust in him.
Sure. Amen. Someone else.
Charlie, I don't feel worthy to follow all these testimonies. I mean, Lord gosh, I know if I don't get up to praise the Lord that I'll take a whooping all week long. I just know that. For a
Amen.
fact, you know. I feel blessed to be here. I feel
Amen.
blessed to be with all my brothers and sisters in the Lord.
Amen.
And after the message this morning, and the Sunday school class, you know, it just makes you want to come to church that much more.
Yes,
Yeah,
amen.
You know, I hate when I can't be here for whatever reason, but it just gives you more of a drive to be here. You know,
Amen.
just pray for me.
Good testimony, Jerry. Amen.
Yeah.
I tell you, when you're not here, you're certainly missed. I'll tell you that.
That's right.
Well, I just want to stand and thank God for helping me yesterday. I'm one of them girls that like to work outside more than I do inside. And burn a big brush pile and took them over to the brush pile to burn. Every little bit, like, I'm like, Shirley, I got COPD, and I was a huffing and a puffing, and I'd go sit down, and I say, thank you, Lord, just give me a little bit more strength.
Yeah.
You know, he let me work all day yesterday. I
Praise you, God.
got a lot
Praise you,
done.
Lord.
And I just thank him. He's so good to me.
Yes, amen.
Amen.
Bless you, sis. Amen.
That's nothing you don't know we can.
Amen.
Glory.
Anyone else? Anyone else? If not, here's Brother George with our evening message. I was waiting for somebody else to jump up.
Bless your brother, Lord.
Bless you, buddy.
Bless you. Work with me, sound man. Don't let me squeal on them, okay? You got it? All right. Yeah, but I'm going to do something. Come. All you musicians, I'm sorry, but come back up here, please. It's the blue mic. It's the blue mic. You know those preachers that grab the mic and start preaching? That ain't me. It may be one day, but I'm not doing it yet. Now, this is something I don't usually do, and something you probably don't usually do. Y'all love me?
Amen. Amen.
Will you love me after this? What is it?
I said that's usually a trick question.
All right. Give me a C. How about a D? If I surveyed all the good things that come to me from above, if I could count all the blessings from the storehouse of love, I'd simply ask for this favor of him beyond mortal men, and I'm sure he would grant it again. You don't have to say a word, just sing if you want. I want to stroll over heaven with you some glad day, when all our troubles and heartaches have vanished away. Then we'll enjoy the beauty where all things are new. I want to stroll over heaven with you. You like to sing, Jan? Many places of beauty we long to see here below, but time and treasure have kept us from making plans, as you know. But come the morning of rapture, together we'll stand. This is a trick to get you to sing in it. So I'll stroll over heaven with you. Just keep walking. I want to stroll over heaven with you some glad day, when all our troubles and heartaches have all vanished away. Then we'll enjoy the beauty where all things are new. I want to stroll over heaven with you. If you can walk with us. I want to stroll over heaven with you some glad day, when all our troubles and heartaches have vanished away. Then we'll enjoy the beauty where all things are new. I want to stroll What are you doing, Dave? Over heaven with you. I want to stroll on that day when all our troubles and heartaches have all vanished away. Then we'll enjoy the beauty where all things are new. I want to stroll over heaven with you. All right, musicians, come on, we'll keep singing. I want to stroll over heaven with you some that day where all our troubles and heartaches have vanished away. There we'll enjoy the beauty where all things are new. I want to stroll over heaven with. Now we're going to serenade all the people watching this. Sister Pat, anybody else, and those people up there in that nest up there that are filming this for us tonight because they're not down here. Ready? Look at them. I want to stroll over heaven with you some glad day when all our troubles and heartaches have all vanished away. We'll enjoy all the beauty where all things are new. I want to stroll over heaven with you. Lord, I thank you for this church. I thank you for these folks that are gathered here tonight, Lord. And they could be anywhere else, but tonight they're here. I don't know the words that you will have me say tonight, God, but I do know, Lord, that you required, Lord, and it's something that you required among your disciples, and you demanded and commanded among us, that we love one another, Lord, and that we love those folks not only in this building, but outside of this building as well, Lord. And I pray to God that you'll help us tonight, Lord, to not only hear about the love of God, but to experience. It doesn't matter what walk of life we've come from, Lord. We all are the same. We all bleed the same. We all hurt the same. God, we'll all die the same, God. And for us that are in you, we'll die and be with you forever. And so, Lord, I pray that you would bless. Help us, Lord, to love each other here as we will love each other there. We love you, Lord, and we thank you. In Jesus' name, amen. If you remember where you were seating, you can go back to your seat. Or you can sit down anywhere else.
I guess.
If I were to put that microphone, I might put it back here.
Hugs here.
Thank you, Pastor George. Never know what Pastor will pull on.
Well, we don't want it to get boring to you, do we?
Amen.
How about turning to the book of John? In the book of John, we're going to be reading tonight in chapter 13. You guys give me a mic with a clip on the opposite side. You threw me for a loop there. You thought I wouldn't notice it, but someone this morning's probably thinking his battery's running dead. That's all right. I ain't going to move too far from behind this pulpit anyhow, right? Unless I'm walking and singing. But you never know. Chapter 13 of the book of John. Chapter 13. I spoke Wednesday night probably about of course, the Lord, the Last Supper, and how he was there with his men, his disciples. And I said to you, or I think I did, I said it somewhere, but I thought it was here, that I would mention this in the next message or so. But chapter 13 of the book of John, just something that I feel impressed to read tonight. Now before the feast, in verse 1, now before the feast of the Passover, when Jesus knew that his hour was come, that he should depart out of this world unto the Father, having loved his own which were in the world, he loved them unto the end. And supper being ended, the devil having now put into the heart of Judas Iscariot, Simon's son, to betray him, Jesus, knowing that the Father had given all things into his hands, that he was to come from God, and went to God, he riseth from supper, and laid aside his garments, and took a towel, and girded himself. And after that he poureth water into a basin, and began to wash the disciples' feet, and to wipe them with the towel wherewith he was girded. Somebody's getting scared already. Oh no, he's going to want us to wash feet. Then cometh he to Simon Peter. And Peter saith unto him, Lord, dost thou wash my feet? Jesus answered and said unto him, What I do thou knowest not now, but thou shalt know hereafter. Peter saith unto him, Thou shalt never wash my feet. And Jesus answered him, If I wash thee not, thou hast no part with me. Simon Peter saith unto him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head. And Jesus saith to him, He that is washed needeth not save to wash his feet, but is clean every whit, and ye are clean, but not all. For he knew who should betray him, therefore said he, Ye are not all clean. And so after he had washed their feet, and had taken his garments, and was sat down again, he said unto them, Know ye what I have done unto you? Ye call me Master and Lord, and ye say, Well, for so I am. If I then, your Lord and Master, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have given you an example that you should do as I have done to you. Verily, verily, I say unto you, the servant is not greater than his Lord, neither he that is sent greater than he that sent him. If ye know these things, happy are ye if you do them. Now, I could preach to you tonight, and I've heard it preached whenever I was young, that this only means physical foot washing. Now, I don't know if you know this, but you have one of these crazy pastors that loves foot washing services. I love them. I enjoy them. I appreciate them. But I think I got the right meaning down behind that. Is the right meaning that I like to look at everybody's feet? No. Is the right meaning that I look to everybody's big, injured, maybe some of them marched in the military, maybe they got hurt, I don't know, but it is not the fact that I would look at each foot and say, oh, isn't that beautiful? But that's not what foot washing is about, and not even a physical foot washing service that you would have in a church. Now, the church that I'm preaching revival in, they just had foot washing and communion service on Sunday evening, or Wednesday evening rather, of last week, and they were talking about how good it was. And I know I was speaking with someone from Community Bible here a while back, and they just had their foot washing service. They have a couple maybe a year, and how they enjoyed that. But when we read what is happening here, this isn't just so Jesus says, whether you're Baptist or Free Will Baptist or whatever it is you are, that you now have to wash feet, and that is one of the ordinances. That is not what he's talking about, but what he is saying to them is, do you know what I've done to you? He said, you call me master, and you call me that rightfully because I am your master. But if I've done this to you, notice I heard someone say one time that he didn't say that now you ought to do it to me. He didn't say that at all, did he? What did he say? He said, you need to do it to one another. Now, what was he meaning? Was he meaning that we should literally get the pans? And like I said, you're looking at a pastor who has done that. I'm going to give you 2 stories tonight of that, but that is not what I'm preaching on, so you'll have to take it for whatever it's worth. Will we do it someday? We will, and if you want no part of it, that's your business, but we probably will. As long as I'm here as pastor, we will probably do that sometime. And so you don't have to wash a woman's feet, and a woman's not going to wash your men's feet, but you'll see if you ever come. And I know a lot of you, probably Brother Roy's done it for years probably, and so if that's something you would enjoy, then you could come. You could even just come and watch if you want to. But that's not what he's talking about. What he's talking about is, if I, your master, have done it unto you, you should do it to one another. So what is he saying? He said, I am your master. I am the one that you need to be doing this to, but I became your servant. And what he's saying is, if I became your servant to love you and to show you love and compassion, then you need to show that love and compassion to others. Now, let me say this about foot washing services. You don't show up to a foot washing service, and for that case, there may be some folks that don't come to the first Sunday of the month. I know some have their own church that they go to, and they'll come here maybe the rest of the time, but they'll go to theirs on a Sunday. You may not come to communion service if you know they're going to be having communion. There are just some people like that. And I watch, as we watch, there are sometimes there'll be one maybe that won't take, or for whatever reason you might see something like that. But foot washing service would be different. Trust me, if you got something against someone, you're probably not going to do a ceremonial washing of their feet. So what does that do? It purges us. It cleanses us. It helps us. How's that? If you will. It helps us. It helps us to what? To grow closer to one another. It bonds us together. Why? Because it is humility in action. That's what it is. I mean, and so I'll give you a couple of illustrations. Now, Teresa may have said this and spoke of it here one time before, but when we were young, when I first started preaching, my mother had an aunt who lived over off of Tapman Cove Road, and she was blind, and she didn't get out to church too much. Now, the times that she did go, we would take her, and some other folks would take her occasionally, and we would help her, walk her up the stairs, and she would sit in there, and she would enjoy the services, but she got to where she couldn't go much. And so what we would do is go over. There was a fellow that would have a monthly cottage prayer meeting service at her home, and we would go to that. Well, me being the young preacher, I always drew the short straw. You know, I was always the one that was going to preach, and there have been times that I even said to her before I left her house before, I would almost cut this piece of carpet and take it with me. It felt so good in here tonight just preaching in her home. There was just that liberty, but she couldn't see what was going on, but she enjoyed all of it by the Spirit. And one time we had left a little service. We had a good time. Our kids were little, and we were leaving, and Teresa said she had this impression that she needed to wash her feet. And so she got some of the ladies together, and she talked to my aunt about that, and she said, yes, that would be something she would love. Now, she sat in a recliner and just a rocker, and so she brought it down and had it down, and the ladies gathered around. They washed her feet. It wasn't long after that, she had had sugar, that's why she lost her eyesight, but it wasn't long after that she had a problem, and they were working with her feet, and they ended up having to take some of it, and then some of it, and then up to the top of the ankle, and then on up to, and then the other foot the same way. And Teresa said, I'll never forget. When God impressed on me to wash her feet, he knew that before long she would not have feet to wash. And it blessed her so much, and in turn blessed Teresa and those ladies that were there. Now, when I pastored another church, there was a gentleman who loved to come to the communion and foot washing services. And he had done it for years. He was in his 80s, but he loved it. And he got to the point where it was difficult for him to get his shoes on and off. He had Parkinson's, and the more that it took over his body, the more his wife was doing, dressing him and helping him come. But he would still come as often as he could to our services, to our communion services, and we would go like is downstairs here, and it was just as steep. We would take them downstairs. The men would go downstairs, and so he would come down there, and once we helped him downstairs, and we would take his shoes off and his socks off, and he always brought a shoehorn with him, one of those old guy things, you know, that many guys don't use much anymore, but he had one of those with him to help him get his shoes on. Well, we would take them off, and Brother Brad Harris was attending there at the time, and Brother Brad started that when we would stick somebody's feet in the pan to wash them, Brother Brad would start praying, and we would then wash the fellow's foot and pray for guidance, pray for healing, pray for help. And I can tell you, while someone else may have been singing, the people that were praying, and especially the people that were getting prayed for, it was such a blessing. And that man enjoyed it. And I remember putting his shoes on and his socks on the last time that we had the service there. So we went to their home for a service one evening. And we got to talking, me and some of the fellows, and said, we'd like to see if it's all right with his wife and if we bring a pan and we'll fill it with water and we'll wash his feet. And we got to do that. And that was such a blessing. But let me tell you something. If we were to have communion and foot washing service here together, and although some would maybe take the communion service and then they would leave or they would sit there and watch, and that's your business, I wouldn't be offended at that, and we were to have foot washing service, let me just say to you, if you know we're having foot washing service, you're probably going to wash your feet up before you come, right? They're probably going to be pretty. You're going to paint your toenails. Well, you women, hopefully not you men. But you will come and your feet will be nice and clean if you even do it, right? It wasn't that way in their day. Wasn't that way at all. And so when they would come to the door and they'd take off the sandal, the servant would kneel down and they would put their foot over into the pan. And the servant, to bring relief to them, walking in the sand, walking in the desert, the dirt, they would wash their feet. They would bring them some kind of, that was a welcome into. And can you imagine? That was a servant. Now that was his job. He was a servant. What was he going to say? Nah, I'm not going to do that. That was his job. Christ made it his job to be our servant. He was our servant. He was getting ready to show it bigger than washing their feet. He, after supper being ended, the scripture says he girded himself with a towel. You know what that means? And we even had some big towels, and it took big towels for guys like me, but we had big towels to wrap around the waist. And I've been in services with Brother Joe Nelson's father. I've watched Joe wrap that towel around. I've watched him get down there and wash feet. Guys that I have preached with for years, I've watched them do that. And as we've done that, my mind always goes to this scripture. But just the other day, I'm driving down the road thinking to myself, but he did not say, what I've done unto you, you do it unto me. He said something that I've heard for years and I've read for years. What did he say? Do it unto others. Do it unto. Now, was he talking about the people that weren't in the upper room with him? He wasn't talking about that. I'm looking at it thinking he was talking about the brethren. He was talking about the people that he associated with. You know why? They were going to be the church. They were the foundation of the church. He is the cornerstone, and they were the foundation of the church. And so that is why he said that. Do you know why? Because it draws people together. Do you know what my hopes was tonight with taking that microphone and walking back there? Now, I know you've all sang that song before, and I know you probably all have walked before, and we have done that at other churches where we have been, but what does that do? Isn't it hard to grab somebody's hand that you don't like and say, I want to stroll over heaven with you? What if you would have had to say, not you? What if I would have passed your pew and said, nah, let's go on, but it wasn't that way. And what that does is brings a certain unity. Well, folks, I'm telling you something. If you don't have unity in your church here, don't expect for other people to come in and want to be a part of it. And if they do come in, trust me, they're going to know you don't have unity. And I said to Teresa on our way to the revival today, I said, I am not all-knowing like God. And there are some sometimes things that will happen that I will have no way of knowing they happened. But as I said that to her, I was thinking, but I will feel the effects of it. And what I mean by that is, if you ever say something out of line to any visitor that comes through these doors, I may not know what you say, but I guarantee you through that, God will bring that back. If you were to step up beside someone that you know and say, things are going pretty good here except for this one or except for that one, you'll blow everything that God has going here. So please don't ever do that. If you have a conflict with me, you would just come then and say, you know what, Brother George, we need to talk about that. Now, I'm just saying to you as a pastor tonight, I have no clue that has happened, but I do have a clue that those things do happen. But they happen less when people are servant to one another. That's the whole thing. Why would we went to homecoming today, and I'm going to preach 3 nights of this meeting, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday down there. Why would those people even want to come back to a church and call it a homecoming? And why would they want to go there? Of course, somebody's going to say, because of the food. No, I mean, you can eat anywhere, folks. You can eat any restaurant. You can eat anywhere. But why would people want to come back and fellowship with people that they don't like? And so if we said, okay, now we're going to have a meeting and open up the doors and let's see how many people come. We cannot make people come, but we can make people want to come. How? Do you know there are people that you don't like that are Christians? And people that are Christians that may not like you. Now, I'm not talking about love. I'm talking about like. And you can't say, now, Brother George, that's not true. Maybe some of you like everybody and everybody likes you. I don't know, but there are probably people that don't like me too well. I don't know that. I try not to make enemies, but I don't know that. But I would say that there may be certain things that sometimes you say, I don't know that I want to be around that person. Are you going to go to heaven? And are they going to go to heaven? And if they are, and if you are, we are going to be there together. And so when we call this a body of believers, we can't have an infection in the body. You know what happens when you get an infection in the body? Sometimes no amount of antibiotics is going to do away with it. You've got to allow God to do the surgery. You've got to allow him to do whatever he needs to do to get rid of whatever's causing the problem. And Jesus said to them, not all of you are clean, because he knew which one wasn't. I would have no way of knowing. As a pastor, I would have no way of knowing. I would walk down through the pews and say, clean, unclean, clean. You're probably pretty good, but you, buddy, you got to go. No, because I wouldn't know. But God would know, and you would know. And this is really something that takes care of itself a lot of the times, because if you don't put it on the altar and get your life straightened up, you stop coming. You know why? Because you can't stomach going to church with the people you go to church with. That's what happens. It really is what happens. Somebody said to me the other day, maybe I mentioned this, but somebody said to me the other day, so when are you going to join the Free Will Baptist? It was a pastor, Free Will Baptist pastor in the conference, said, when are you going to join the, I said, I don't know. I said, he said, what do you think about the Free Will Baptist? I said, I think you guys are just crazy. You guys are nuts, man. I said, I wonder if you all like each other sometimes. And he just kind of laughed, but there's a certain amount of sincerity in that. Sometimes wouldn't you look at churches and wonder if they like one another? We passed Rubyville today, and I'm going to tell you what, I love Brian and Cal Ray, but I am not in competition here at Charity with Rubyville. I'm not. I love those folks. And you know what? When I pass there may be some people that look over there and say, I'm not going to that big church, that rich church, that whatever church, whatever you want to think of it. When I look at that church, I think of it, I'm going to heaven with those people. Now, I don't know about all the other churches around here and what they would think about our little church, but you know what? We are what we are. And if we're going to heaven, we have to be servant to one another. If you're going to have a foot washing service, and I say tomorrow we're having foot washing service here, I bet you're cleaning out the toe jam. I bet you are. But they didn't in this day. They didn't stop. And these guys on the way to the upper room didn't stop and say, hey, let me wash my feet off first. But Jesus washed their feet. It just showed he loved them. He said, you don't even understand what I'm doing yet. And folks, if that was could you imagine, how many of you have been in a literal foot washing service? Raise your hand. Could you imagine Jesus girding himself with a towel and across from you washing your feet? I don't know that will happen in heaven, but wouldn't it be good if they just had him, all of us lined up and had a pan, and he was the one sitting on the throne with his feet in the water, and we got up there and began to splash and pray and thank him for everything he done for us? Because we look at him and say, oh, isn't it so good since the Lord came into my heart? I don't like you. It's pretty good since God, I don't like him. It's pretty. What I'm saying is we can't live like that. We can't be those people. We can't be those people. Now, this is a pastoral message if you don't know. This is not a, hey, come and get saved message. This is a, man, you better get yourself straightened up message. That's what this is. We can't have those attitudes. So I would invite people to come to church, say, hey, come to church, come to church. When I invite people in this area to come to church, if I were to say to you how many of you live in this area, if I invite you to come to church, people may not say, well, we know your pastor and blah, blah, blah. They may, but they may not. But don't allow them to say, well, we know this guy, or we know that woman, and they go there. You say, well, George, I've been bad in the past. This ain't the past no more. Stop it. If that's been you, change it. Love. Love. Because washing the feet was one thing. How about laying down your life? Because that's what he did next. That's what he's getting ready to do. He could have said, you think me washing your feet's something? Wait till you see the next act. Wait till you see what happens next. That showed how much he loved us. This is as honest with you as I can be. I would stop today. I would stop going to church. I would just walk away from it. I would consider it a whole mess if I considered everybody to be like some of the people that I've encountered who hold grudges, who cannot get over the past, who pick at every little thing they do. Because if you don't know it yet, pastors and pastors' wives and families sometimes are the brunt of that. But if you're not the brunt of it and you're not the trouble and the cause of it, you then do still see people do it to other people. I said before, it's like being in grade school and watching. Now, I'm older now, so to watch young kids and to see our grandkids, I would not want someone singling them out, looking at them, making them feel different. Although they may be different in their own way, I would not want someone looking at my grandchild and being mean to them, rude to them, crude to them. And I look at us and think we're all God's children. And so when he looks down at us, I preach different than some people. I sing different than some people. I act different than some people. But you say, well, I'm different. Well, I'm just not you. And guess what? You're different because you're not me. But we need to love one another. If we can't get it right in here, it don't matter what we do out there. If we're not right in here first and then in here, when we go out there, trust me, it won't take long that it'll show up. They will know us by the fruit we bear. So I worked for Suter Hoople when I was 15 years old. And 16 years old, before I had my license, I would go out and someone would drive me out and leave me out there. And sometimes my mom, she worked there too for a while for Suter, a couple of summers maybe. And we'd just go out there. And then when I got my license, I'd drive out there. The fun part wasn't going out and working in the apple orchard. It was getting to drive to the apple orchard because I was old enough to drive, you know. And so going out. There were regulations. There were certain things that Suter had that you could do and that you couldn't do with the trees, you know, and with the apples and you know, let them fall. Hopefully you get them, and even you didn't waste. I mean, you'd pick up the ones that looked like, well, they got bees flying around. Well, they make good cider. If you ever watch Suter and Harry and their cider activity out there, you may say, I don't know if I want to drink that or not. You probably drank some bees. And probably, I mean, you know, apples and they're bruised, some of them, and the bees are flying around or whatever, and they're going down getting squashed. But it was good. I'd like to have some right tonight. It was really good. But did you ever eat a piece of fruit that was sour? That was, I don't know about you. Maybe you like green bananas. I despise them. I don't like green bananas. I don't like yellow bananas. I like bananas. I know you're not going to like this, some of you, but I like bananas that just have just a little spot, 2, 3, I don't care. Just starting to get a little age on them. Just like me and Teresa. The more age we get on us, the better we are, right, babe? They get soft enough that you could I just like them that way. Not Teresa. No. Teresa would buy them green, and she'd probably be eating them before they was yellow. I mean, that's just how. But sometimes you take a fruit, any kind of fruit, whatever it is. I guess you could use the illustration with lettuce too. I mean, if you're on a diet and you're eating lettuce, it's bad enough. But man, don't bring me a bowl of wilted, yucky, old, brown, yuck lettuce. How long we had this stuff? 3 weeks. It should be all right. I'm not saying Teresa does that to me now. I'm not saying she don't, but I'm not saying she does. But if you put something in your mouth, you expect something. If you put it in your mouth and, well, if they're going to know you by your fruit and you ain't nothing but a sourpuss, what are they going to know about you? I'm sorry, the people I'm supposed to be preaching to didn't show up tonight, right? So maybe they're all watching online. I don't know. No, I'm preaching to all of us. So it takes something to zip your lip. You're looking at a specialist in knowing it. It takes something. And a specialist not always zipping it when I should. That'd be me. But it takes work. What else does it take? It takes us seeing the love of Christ, accepting it, doing it, and being able to show it to one another. So if I tonight were to come down and flop off my shoes, and see, you love me after we sang that song. How many of you would love me if I took my sock off and said, now wash it? He wasn't just saying wash feet. He wasn't just saying get in a church that washes feet. He was saying serve one another. Serve one another. You know what I'm scared of? And I'll just be honest with you. I'm scared of, like next month, I'm looking at it already. Not that I'm going to be 52 years old. That doesn't bother me. People say, we're going to have something for pastor appreciation. Why can't you just do it now? Amen. Who cares about October, right? I'm not saying, oh yeah, let's have a party now. What I am saying is, I'm you and you're me. You don't need to put me up anywhere. The higher you put me up, if I were to fall, the more you would be disappointed, and I would be like, well, I knew that was me. I've had people come and go to church with me that's like, man, he's the best pastor. We just love him. And then maybe something over something. And I like to think that it was over, like I was right and they were wrong, but I like to think that it was, this is how it's got to be. No, this is how it's got to be. Now, Brother George, now, no, this is how it's got to be. If the church is going to go, this is what we got to do. And sometimes that brings and so I've had to learn how to pastor. Believe that? Yeah, it's true. There are some things that I could look at, and I try to be as open about this as I can be, maybe too open sometimes. But I sometimes wake up at night and say, God, you know what really got to me? It doesn't matter. Whatever. I don't care if you paint the walls purple, Charlie, when he comes to paint them. It don't matter to me. Do whatever you want to do, but let's love one another. Let's love one another. Y'all love me? Y'all love the Lord? Y'all love one another? Should we just like pick and choose who comes to the church? We have a line out front, like a bouncer at a bar. You get in. No, you don't. Go on. No, yeah, you come in. No. 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 Can you imagine? Noah and his sons. Noah loved his sons, and Noah's wife loved her sons. But you know, sometimes daughter-in-laws and mother-in-laws don't get along, right? And so I'm just saying, sometimes they don't. Mine does, and my wife and my mom, but sometimes they don't. Could you imagine? What's to happen if you're on this big boat floating, ain't no one else alive but you all? And you're in there, you're like, And Noah says, well, here's the sleeping arrangements. And the wife says about the daughter-in-law, I ain't sleeping around them any. I'm going down here and sleep with the goats or the elephants or whatever. I don't even like them. Just picture it. We're on a big boat and we're going to heaven. And some of us stink like animals, but we're all going, right? Here we go. Let's just go. Let's love one another. Open up your eyes and look at it this way too. Next year at this time, some of us that are in here today may not be here. And we can't grieve when we know where they're going, but we will grieve when they go. We will. It will happen. And you know who it may happen with first? The woman that's looking to thin out her closet. I say, well, come winter. And I say, baby, we will not be here in the wintertime. Does anybody help us? Get us a place that has 5, 6 closets. She's like, don't take each other for granted. Love one another. Just love one another. You people in the perch up there, and you all know who I'm talking about, right? And then you couple sitting right there, and whoever else that helps with that breakfast. Was it good this morning? I didn't need a piece of it. I drank a cup of coffee, didn't need a piece of it, but I know it was good. Do you know how I know it was good? Because someone served us. They took their time. Everybody else that waited over there, Brother Dave, that's what Teresa and I were talking. You know, I mean, she's my sounding board. And I mean, I talk about you people like crazy. You would not believe it. And I appreciate Brother Dave and his faithfulness and, you know, the people that stand out here, Dave, Charlie, whoever it is that stands out here. It's like standing out here waiting to hook that thing. That lock is locked. It's locked. Anybody in the world can hook that thing, but they'll wait for you to get in your car, and they'll stand there sometimes and wait in case you want to drive out that way, like we can't drive around this way. And every once in a while, I'll find myself driving out that way. They're standing out there waiting for me. Let me get out of here. What am I saying? They want to go home too. Sometimes it's the simple things that we overlook, we take for granted. Can they not? Can somebody make that PA not squeal? That's just a... Can somebody turn him down? Why has he got to scream at us? Dave, crank him down a little bit. He's too loud. We could find all kinds of things to complain about. Let's love one another. I'm not asking you to wash feet yet. I'm just saying, love one another. Love one another. This is how all men will know you are his disciples. You have loved one for another. So we got that part down, right? And then we're just going to love everybody that comes in, right? Because eventually it'll be winter. And we all know churches fill up in the wintertime, right? Because there ain't nothing to do in the winter other than basketball and indoor sports and gymnastics, whatever. I don't know. There's always something to do. That's sarcasm, I guess. But when people come, make them want to come back. If my preaching is no good, you make them want to come back just by loving them. Just say, oh, honey, we know he can't preach worth a dime, but you got to come back and be with us because we love you. I don't care what you use. The piano player and her husband over there, they're really good. You got to come and hear them. Because when it comes down to it, it's not about the pastor. Look how good he is. Look how great he is. I do have a difficult time with people saying, it ain't me, it ain't me, it ain't me, until it's me. Then I'm like, no, don't do that. But there are people in here that sometimes will say, you got to give God all the praise. That's what we're doing. But we're also looking and seeing that there is work that is being done by you. And we need to love you. I'm done. I don't know what you all are still sitting here for. If you stay, I'll probably keep talking, and I don't need to do that, right? Stand with me tonight, if you will. Maybe you just need to pray. The sister came and prayed, and I loved it. I